An old, unrequited love of mine is Thelma Ritter. And you've seen her and loved her in The Miracle on 34th Street, All About Eve, Rear Window, Pillow Talk, The Misfits, How the West Was Won, The Second Time Around, New Kind of Love, For Love and Money, and her newest, Move Over, Darling. She always plays a hard woman with a heart of gold. Well, the hard woman part is acting. The heart of gold is real. I love her. Thelma Ritter. Delighted to have you back on
You
the
didn't
show.
say anything about my gown.
I know she could hardly walk in it. I noticed that.
Well, it's designed for cookouts and barbecues and any kind of an occasion where they serve the food on paper plates.
Oh, it's darling, Thelma. Thelma was born in Brooklyn.
I know, but I played the White House twice.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. I mean,
Oh.
I'm just giving it just the facts here. She has 2 children. And one of the great show business stories is her true story and her husband, Joe Moran. They were both actors in stock around New York before the Depression, or was it in the Depression?
It all came simultaneous.
Simultaneous. And what happened, they were out of work, couldn't get any work, and their young couple married. And Joe has this wonderful knack of writing great slogans. Now, you tell them the rest about how you lived off of radio contests for years.
Well, I think a year went by when we didn't have a single job, and my husband got to listening to radio contests, to tell me in 20 words or less why you like so forth. And he got to win consistently. I mean, a couple of watches a week, tickets to hit shows, and we had a waiting list. People bought from us.
Did you, in fact, live off of that?
Yes. And then there was
Every week you win lots of
Oh,
things?
yes.
Watches, everything.
Well, yes. And then there was the contest, why I shampoo my rugs every week. And he won that, and he also won the rugs, which was too big for our living room, but we put it down anyway, and we had up-the-wall carpeting. And then he won a complete set. We had a 2.5-room apartment. He won a complete set of dishes. They were in a barrel in the hall. And then he won a planning desk for the kitchen. Very scientific.
Yes.
Place for seated bills. Who didn't need that? And there was a place for recipes, and there's just so many things you can do with a half a pound of ground round steak, so we didn't need that either. And he won a beautiful fur coat for me, which I wore from September 15th to the 1st of June, because...
You did win your dresses, obviously. You just,
No.
just kept the coat on.
I just kept the coat on.
Well, how would you enter the contest under different names?
Well, sometimes he was the mother of 4 growing boys.
He would make up a different name.
So then he would take the mother of my friend, use her name. And she was different people. So she won one time, and she called up in a panic. She said, Joe, who am I now?
But you could enter all, and you actually could take all that stuff and sell it.
Oh, we had friends standing in line waiting for watches.
What happened was her husband became so good at this, he left acting and became a very important vice president in an advertising agency, and he just has a knack of winning contests.
But he can't win anymore because he's lost his amateur standing.
Now he's a pro. Tell me about the days of stock and the funny things and the ad-libbing and the stuff that went on in stock.
Well, of course, that was year-round dramatic stock, which went out when talking pictures went. But we did a different play every week, 2 shows a day, and a rehearsal every morning.
Uh-huh. What are some of the others? What about that old actress you worked with that got drunker as the scenes went on? Forgive me for being delicate.
We had a leading woman who had a hard time remembering lines, and this was a terrible handicap in stock with 110 pages a week sometimes. And she would know the first act pretty well, and she would ad-lib the second act. But the third act, she didn't know what show it was. So she got over that obstacle by having a tumbler full of gin. So one time she was put... Incidentally, ingenues in those days didn't have much to do. You had to be little and look cute, and you had lines like, why, father, but mother, Hubert, you don't mean that. And that's all. So my girlfriend, the leading woman, came on in the third act, and she said nothing. She was supposed to say, "My dear, your uncle has decided to change his will. He has added a codicil to the effect that if you do not marry your cousin, the estate will revert to his first wife." She stood and looked at me. For 2 days, I think. But when the silence got more than I could bear, I said, "Why, Mother, you don't mean to tell me that Father has changed his will and added a codicil to the effect that if I don't marry Hubert, the estate will..." And she said, "Mm-hmm."
That was wonderful. Lee Tracy told me a story once. He was in stock, and it was a mystery story in a courtroom near the end. And the whole last minutes of the play are built around the jurors coming in, and to how do you find it? And the jurors to get up and said, "We find the defendant not, we find the defendant guilty." And he slipped, and he said, "We find the defendant not guilty." Well, there goes the whole end of the show. So the defense attorney jumps up and says, "The jury's wrong, Your Honor. My client is guilty."
Some of those theaters backstage, they were so shallow that the backdrop would be against the wall of the theater. So if you made an exit there and had to make an entrance there, you went out and ran around the alley. Come on.
You did.
Which was all right. You have to kind of make time. But if it happened to be raining, you went out that way, bone dry, and came in this way, soaking wet. It used to startle the audience. I don't think it would bother them so much nowadays. You know, they take it for symbolism or avant-garde.
They would. There's another story of stock I know about a girl who was the producer's girlfriend, and she had no talent to speak of, but she had some talent to speak of. And she had this dress cut way down like this and everything, too much, you know. And the other actors went and they said, "We're not going to work with you. You're spoiling the play with your thing with the whole thing there, you see." And she said, "Well, what's wrong? I love this gown." He said, "My dear, when your leading man says to you, 'Marge, you're hiding something from me,' the audience laughed because they couldn't possibly imagine what it could be." You work with, you worked with a lot of wonderful people. The most wonderful person to me was Fred Allen.
Fred Allen, yes.
Wasn't he a darling?
Oh, he was a professional misanthrope. You know, everybody was no good, and he was the softest touch in the world.
Yeah.
But Father Keller, of course, has the Christopher program, and we did one of the shows for him. There was John Daly and Grace Kelly and Father Keller and Fred Allen and myself, and they sat us all on a bench to take a publicity picture of all of us sitting together. And Fred sat there for a while and said, "We look like a lot of witnesses waiting to be called in the Jelke trial."
The most beautiful poetic line of comedy, the most perfect line I have ever heard, and my favorite line of all time is Fred's.
Okay.
Speaking of Hollywood, he said, "You can take all the sincerity in Hollywood and place it in a flea's navel and still have enough room for an agent's heart and 3 caraway seeds." Well, it was a joy having you here tonight, and it wasn't worth getting nervous about, was it, all week?
Oh, I get nervous. It's a habit.
Well, wasn't it fun?
Sure, it's always fun with you.
God bless you.
And you.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Darling woman. Thank you. It's funny about a show like this. You work hard all week. You try to bring some silly new thing to you. I've been out there every minute trying to get that damn thing to work. It won't go. Would you come back next week or tune in next week and see it? I know I can get it to work. I mean, if we can get it... You know, what show business? Well, I'm not really a part of show business, you know. In the who's who of show business, I'm listed as a tree surgeon, so I don't take myself seriously about show business. But I do try. I try to think of little interesting things that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And I noticed you didn't even see it here. But that's great. I worked all week on that darn thing. Well, next week, come again. The nice thing is how I take these things in stride and don't blow. There's several other things that won't be working next week. We always try to bring you people we know you enjoy. And tonight is no exception. For I'm sure you agree with me, there's nothing nicer than a genuine pearl. We have one here now, no nerves to her at all. I guess you'd call her an unstrung pearl. Miss Bailey.
I'm wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about me. The heavenly blessings of his kisses fill me with ecstasy. He's sweet, sweet like chocolate candy. He's like the honey from a bee. And I'm just wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about. He can't do without. Harry's wild about me, honey. I'm wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about me. Well, I don't want you tonight. The heavenly blessings of his kisses. I don't remember this. I'm just doing it for fun. Oh, but he's so sweet. He's sweet like chocolate candy. He's like that honey from a bee. Honey, I'm wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about. He can't do it out. Harry's wild about me. Listen, darling. I used to be the life of the party, but that was about 35 years ago. I used to be a high school smarty, honey, but that was 35 years ago. I used to have a half a dozen sweethearts, but about that, oh no, you never know. But I can do the things that I used to do 35 years ago. I remember I had a little flipper. I had to push it just to make it go. I used to go canoeing up the river. I couldn't swim on it. I wanted to hear the boys play the banjo. I used to be the pride of my village. I was the hit of every hometown show. Harper Pearl can't do the things that she used to do 35 years ago. I've been all up, down, and round the country. I've learned a lot of things, it's true. But I think it's time this child decided that she can't do the things that she used to do. I used to be a line kicking. Oh, brother, you don't know me. I was in the know. Oh, but I can't do the things that I used to do 35 years. Ooh, I don't even want to discuss it. 35 oh, my back is aching. 35 years. Trust your memory. 35 years ago. Sweetheart. Now, don't go crazy because I've got another number here. Oh, I can hear that. Yes, just like a rocker by my baby with that Dixie melody. When you croon that tune to the tune of Dixie. Rock-a-bye, baby mine, on the Mason-Dixon line. And swing it from Virginia to Tennessee with the love that's in you. Weep no more, baby. Sing a song again for me. Just sing it low, just as though you had me on your knee. 1 million kisses I'll deliver. Let me sing Swanee River. Rock-a-bye, my rock-a-bye, baby, with a Dixie melody. Oh, rock, rock, baby, with that Dixie melody. Follow me, honey, when you croon a tune to the tune of Dixie. Rock-a-bye, baby mine, on that Mason-Dixon line, and swing it from Virginia to Tennessee with a kisses I'll deliver. Let me sing Swanee River. Rockabye, my rockabye baby with a Dixie melody. Why don't you weep no more, baby? Sing the song for me. Sing it low, just as though you had me on your knee. 1,000,000 kisses I'll deliver. Let me sing Swanee River. Rock, just rock, baby, with the Dixie. Give it to me now. Melody.
Listen. I have to talk slower to make up for the hilarious laughter we counted on with that bag. This young lady who is about to come out here is not a bag at all, as a matter of fact. She's from The Tonight Show, and she, about 7 years ago, was a housewife with 5 children. She decided to become a comedian, and she's now the most successful practicing that dodge in nightclubs anywhere. She's built like a swizzle stick. And that's not hair, those are nerve ends you'll see in a moment. But she's a real darling and a funny, funny woman. No writers. This woman is a witty little girl. Welcome warmly and slowly. I was going to say Phil Silvers. Phyllis Diller! Phyllis Diller!
Very much, and I want you to understand that I shot my kitchen curtains. How do you like it? Something wrong with it, though. You ready? It's ridiculous. Oh!
Better buy bird's eye.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You're probably wondering why I look so gorgeous tonight. I'll tell you what happened. I drove through a car wash with the windows open. You know, we do have a lot of kids, Jack mentioned that, and, well, in fact, at one time in our playpen, there was standing room only. It looked like a bus stop for midgets. The only way I could get away from them was get in with them. And then they'd lose me. Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Where'd she go? And then they'd find me. Who's the big ugly one? You know, when you're first married, you don't have anything you need. You got what you don't need, like kids. You know we have... You know what we had right away? Oh, we had a period Davenport. Well, actually, we had a Davenport period. And we used it for everything. We slept in it, cooked on it, ate on it, drove it to town. Little teeny wheels. We were the only family in that town that drove a Duncan Fight. And we got pinched once because there's no tail light. Well, shoot, I was busy with the headlights. And then another thing, I never learned how to keep house. I never learned. One day I knew instinctively, that was about it, that the house had to be clean. So I borrowed a rake. And I got all the dirt up in one spot, and then I didn't know what to do with it. So I washed it and put it back. Just this week, we lost a gas man in our basement. I told him, don't let go of the rope. Here it is, the dead of winter. We can't find the kids' boots. We know where they are. They're under the Davenport. But we can't find the Davenport. We got to find out, what's that under? And then, of course, you wouldn't. I am 18 years behind with my ironing. I'm never going to iron it. It wouldn't fit anybody I know. All our kids are grown. I got baby clothes in the iron. The only time I ever enjoyed ironing was the day I accidentally got gin in the steam iron. By golly, those collars got stiff. It stunk up the whole neighborhood. I know because within 15 minutes, 4 of my dearest friends were there in cocktail gowns. So what the heck? We refrigerated the ironing and drank the iron. Listen, you haven't lived till you've had hot gin out of a steam iron. And then, of course, when you got that, well, we got one kid who's 23. Are you ready for that? Terrible thing to have a baby when you're 12. And the twins are 18 and 20. I'll never forget that, Bert. Then we have this one beautiful daughter of 10, a widow. And boy, she's going through a stage through which I may not live. She's a dumb kid. Anyway, we named them all Kid. That's it, Kid. Well, they got different front names like Hey Kid, You Kid. One day she came home from school. She was in 3rd grade. She couldn't read or write. And the teacher had given her an ultimatum, and she didn't know what it was. So I looked it up. I still don't know what it is. So I told her, kid, be neat, fold it, and put it away. So she said, the teacher said that tomorrow she had to know how to spell everybody's first name in the whole class and the Susan. Oh, she said, I just hope nobody's name begins with a 2 or a 5. And you know what? The stage she's going through, she answers the door. I can't get there. It's a thing. And she botches it. Oh, I was home recently. I was in the kitchen trying to get the rest of the ketchup out of the bottle, see? So the kid goes to the door. Who is it? It's the president of the PTA. Got to be the squarest broad in town. And I'm not in too good with the PTA. Ever since I baked them a paperweight. In fact, just the other day, my husband, Fang, asked me why I only bake one cupcake at a time. That's all the room there is crud all over the sides of the oven. There's just little teeny. So now the kid goes to the door, and Miss PTA says, and what is Mommy doing? And the stupid kid says she's in the kitchen hitting a bottle. She did it again. I was at home, and this time I was upstairs taking a bath, and I usually undress. What do you think of that? First, I blindfold myself first. Well, I don't want to be ill in the top. So she's answered the door. She brings the salesman up to the bathroom door, and I am considering going right down the side of the house. These are my secrets. But the guy next door has got a very weak heart. So now we're talking through the door. It turns out he's a blind salesman, so I throw open the door, and here he stands with an arm full of blinds. It's just amazing what you can cover with a bar, Timmy. Providing you move it around fast enough. Thank you, I love
I just want to talk to her a moment because I love her very much and because we're short. But this girl is a great favorite of my mother's. And these 5 children she calls kids. And the jokes about are very lovely children. And this is the way she makes her living, kidding them. I want you to know the real surprise for you is that this girl is an Ohio girl who attended a religious college with Hugh Downs. What was the name of the school?
Bluffton College.
Bluffton College. Both you and she were in
It's no longer religious.
Well, I'm trying to get you off the hook, and you're going in deeper. You are a skinny broad, aren't you? My goodness.
Oh, that felt marvelous.
Yeah. It's like being in love with a coat hanger. My thanks to Pearl Bailey, Thelma Ritter, Phyllis Diller, and Michael Benteen for being here this evening. I'm sorry about that bag not working. But it's one of those things. We leave the mistakes in like everything else. But next week, we're making a comeback with Lowell Thomas, and the brother of Lawrence of Arabia. I truly hope giggle at the straight lines. Actually, we have interviewed Mr. Lawrence, and we're going to spend some time about discussing Lawrence of Arabia. You know, Lowell Thomas, you know that Lowell Thomas discovered Lawrence of Arabia? Without Lowell Thomas, there wouldn't have been a myth of Lawrence of Arabia. Did you know that? Anyhow, tune in next week. Woody Allen, Louise O'Brien, and Alan Bennett from Beyond the Fringe. Victor Borga and Johnny Winters in weeks to come, and Bob Newhart and George Goebel and Oscar Levant and Lee Barachi and Jaja. You've been very kind through this whole thing this evening. You'll do me one more favor, please. Will you please applaud and wait in your seats till I get a taxi? Good night.
This program was pre-recorded.